Hey everyone, I just thought I'd pop in and say hi for a minute, and I want to thank everyone for watching, the videos I put out. I'm sorry, I know I'm not tech savvy. I'm trying. But I just want to thank everyone, and I thought, this might be a good time to kind of give people a backstory as to why I'm wanting to do this. But and I also wanted to let everybody know that, I don't go out looking for these things. I don't do the gifting. I don't do any of that. I don't want nothing to do with them. I don't. I mean, you don't really know what these things are. Um, I have an opinion as to what I think they are, and if that's what they are, I don't want anything to do with them. But like I said, it's just my opinion. But I just kind of wanted to give y'all a little bit of a backstory, uh, as to why I'm wanting to do this. So, we started hunting this property in around 2004. We've had a lot of strange things happen. Finding tracks, knocks, limbs being broke off. My husband's brother was out here hunting with him and heard something in the creek and looked and saw something, tall and black walking up the creek. When they went back out there and done like a size comparison, it was probably about 8 foot tall. And, just, that right there, once that happened, we kind of had a really good suspect maybe as to what was going on, but you still, you don't really want to, I guess in your mind, believe that could be what it is. But then in 2015, we bought 40 of the 80 acres, and we, started building a house. I found 2 tracks out here. When I say 2, it was one small one and one big one, nothing else. I mean, I looked all over the place. There was nothing else, just one smaller one and one bigger one. And then I found handprints on the glass on the front of the house. The whole front of our house was glass, and they were huge handprints. It was about 7 foot off the ground. And then whenever I tried to clean them, it would just smear. They were real greasy. We would hear, trees getting broke. And whenever I would hunt, I would hear things behind my stand that really didn't make sense. It was like a loud thud. Is the only way I can describe it. Is like if you took a big rock and threw it on like sand or wet sand, like that thump sound. I would hear that quite a bit behind my stand, and I never could figure out what it was. But the main reason for all of this was in June of 2021. It was started on June the 14th. I have a pool, and I went out and got in the pool, and I was laying on my mat and just floating around, and I heard this whistle that come from the east, and it was a really distinct kind, whistle. It didn't, sound like any bird that I have ever heard. And so I was just laying there, and then I heard it again, and it was closer. And then I was looking. I had looked down this little path, and it opens up into a field. And I noticed like this reddish brown something sticking out from behind the bushes, the trees and the bushes. And it looked like a head and part of a shoulder. And I thought, what in the world is that? I knew it couldn't be a deer. It was too tall, too high up to be a deer. And so I thought, well, I'm going to float over and get a drink. I watched it for a few minutes, and I thought, well, I'm going to float over and get a drink. And, if this thing moves, then I'll know it was something, alive. So I floated over, and then when I did that, there was a branch from a cedar tree that was at the beginning of this trail. The cedar tree is not there anymore, but anyways, it stuck out. And when I floated over, I couldn't see that area. And so when I floated back, it was gone. So I knew then that, it was something alive. And then that evening, Paul and I was sitting out front, and we heard a wood knock that come from that general area. And then Wednesday evening, we sat back out front and heard another knock from that general area there. And then from the opposite side of the house, we heard a sneeze. I mean, and it was this really rough, deep sneeze. I mean, it wasn't a deer. You know, we've heard deer. And this was really deep and rough. Paul got up and looked. You know, it was dark and even darker in the woods, so, you know, you can't see anything. And then the next day, which was the 17th, it was on Thursday, we was getting ready to go on vacation. So I was going to get out there and clean the pool. I hadn't cleaned it in several days. And to get down to my pool, you walk out the door, you walk by my car, walk about 10 foot behind my car, and there's some concrete steps that go down. You go down a few steps, and then there's like a little landing, and then another step, and then you're on the ground. And then there's the carport where Paul parks his truck. And then my pool is on the other side of the carport. Well, I came out of the house, I walked past the car, and I heard a grunt to my left in the woods, coming from, you know, be behind the house. And I looked, I didn't see anything. And so I went on down. I went down, I turned on the radio. I always play Christian music when I'm out there. It makes me feel better. And I keep it turned down low to where I can hear. And so I turned it on, and I, you know, get my stuff situated. And I got in the pool, and after I got in the pool, I heard that grunt again. And I looked around, didn't see anything. So I started cleaning the pool. And, you know, sometime I went by and I heard what sounded like a tree branch cracking and breaking and falling. You know, I don't know if it was a branch or a tree. I don't know. You know, it was close and it was loud. And then a little bit later after that, I heard what sounded like metal hitting metal. And my husband has a lot of these metal pipes that he uses for welding back there. And it literally sounded like something took a piece of metal and hit metal. And so I was getting a little unnerved. I was almost done. I was going to make one more circle around the pool, you know, skimming the top with the net and get out. Well, as I made my way around, I looked up, and about 40 yards away, there one of these things was standing. It was like 20 yards being the yard and driveway, and 20 yards being into the woods. And I am a firm believer in guardian angels. And I know this is going to sound crazy, but I've heard mine speak to me, and this would make the 4th time. And the other times before, she had saved my life or my children's lives. And when I looked up and I saw this thing standing there, I looked at it maybe 4 or 5 seconds. I don't know. She said, "Don't look at it." So I just turned. I looked straight back down into the water like I didn't even see it. And my mind was just racing. I knew I had to get out of that pool. And my ladder was about 15 foot away. So I took a few steps forward, and the carport, like I said, is there close to the pool. And the top of the carport kind of curves down onto the side just a little bit, about 6 or 8 inches. And then in that corner, we had the lawnmower. And I think there was like a cooler and a pool mat that had a hole in it. It still had air in it, but it had a hole in it. And we had set that stuff out of the boat, and he had just set it on top of the lawnmower. And all of that was kind of blocking my view. I couldn't see up there. I didn't know where this thing was at. I didn't know if it was coming towards me. So I backed up, and I was trying to look under, and I couldn't see anything. I couldn't see where it went. And I just remember I turned, I looked at my ladder, and I don't remember anything until I was out of my pool. and I was standing at the steps on that landing area. And I remember I was looking around. I felt like I was in like a dream, and everything was foggy. And when I say foggy, it was a sunny day, but I was seeing this fog. And I remember I was terrified. I was looking around, wondering where it was at. And I remember I looked at the steps, and I went up the steps, and I ran into my house. And now I will describe what this thing looked like. It was about 7.5 foot tall. The shoulders, massive shoulders, about 4 foot wide. Thing was huge. It had taken its hair, or this is how it appeared, and pulled it over in front of its face. I could not see the face. Then this thing was well groomed. I mean, the hair looked brushed. The whole body, I've never seen any skin, unless you want to count the hands. I did see that the right hand really well, and it was black. The sun was shining in on its right side, so I could see this area and the whole right side really good. And like I said, the shoulders were like about 4 foot wide. There was no slope. They were just straight out. Had huge arm muscles, and they were kind of bowed out. I could see the pec muscles in the chest. It tapered at the waist, and then I could the thigh. The thigh was huge. I could see the muscle in the thigh, and then I could see the leg, as it went down. I could see like the part of the calf muscle. There was, some weeds and bushes that covered, but I could see part of the calf muscle. I never did see any genitalia. But the arm, like I said, its arms were like bowed out. I could see what looked like, it was like 6-inch long hair hanging off that arm. And, it was quite a bit of hair. And that hair was blowing in the wind. I remember I focused in on that hair because I could see it moving, and that was the only thing I could see moving. And I don't know what happened. The time loss, all of it. I mean, it's a lot to wrap your mind around. And that's why I'm wanting to do this, because I know that there are people out there that have had encounters way scarier than mine. And my heart literally breaks for those people. And so I kind of want to be like an outreach for people. If somebody sees this and they want to talk with me, you can reach me at pjarkansas@yahoo.com, and I would be glad to talk with you. And if you want to share your story, we can do that. Or if you want me to share your story, we can do that. Or if you just want to talk. I mean, I know some people don't want their story out there, but for me, I hope people will share it, because I think it's important for people to hear the encounter. It gives us a little bit more information as to how these creatures act, and also if somebody hearing it may help them in some way, or give them more information. So I think it's important to share your story. And so even if you don't want to share it, I could tell it. I would never mention anybody's name. But, like I said, if you just want to talk, that is completely fine too. And, something else that's important to me is, I want people to listen to them, to their self. You know, if they're out, whatever they're doing, you know, if they're around a wooded area, if you have a feeling, an odd feeling, a weird feeling, listen to it. It's important that you listen to that. And, you know, just keep an eye out for each other. And if you have kiddos, I know people that live in the country, you know, they tend to not worry as much about their kids playing in the yard. You know, they don't worry about them being snatched up, but I'm here to tell you, please keep an eye on your kiddos. And, you know, just watch each other's back when you're out there. And with all that being said, I'm going to take you out and show you, you know, where my encounter took place. And kind of that way it'll kind of give you a visual. You can add that to the story. But you know, I hope everybody enjoys this. I'll see you in a bit. Okay, on that Monday, when I was in the pool on my mat, I could see something reddish brown down there. If you can see that tree, you can see the tree trunk kind of lit up there. It was looking at the tree. It would be to the right of the tree. I could see something sticking out of the bushes down there. What looked like a head and shoulders. Now, I was in the water that day. I'm up on my deck right now, so I was down lower. But I could see the head and shoulders of something sticking out down there, and I floated over and got a drink, and when I floated back, it was gone. And on Thursday, which was the day of my sighting, it was standing up in there. See that big tree there? It would have been about maybe 5 to 10 yards beyond that tree, maybe up in there. And I was in my pool that day, so I was down lower, of course, and you can see how the roof of that carport comes down, and there was stuff blocking there. The lawnmower was parked there with stuff, but it was standing up in there. And then I turned. Like I said, last thing I remember is turning towards my ladder to get out of the pool, and that's the last thing I remember until I was on this landing, and I will take you there next. The next thing I remember, I was standing here on this little landing, and I was looking around, and it had been up in there. And I was looking around, like I said, it was like a dream state, and everything was kind of foggy. And but I just remember briefly looking, and then I turned and went up the steps and then went into my house. Well, there you have it. Now you got a little bit of a visual to kind of make it a little more interesting. I hope this helps someone. Like I said, if you need to talk, you can reach out to me, pjarkansas@yahoo.com. And I just want to remind everybody to please be careful when you're out around the woods. Listen to that instinct. If you feel something is off, then pay attention to it. Keep an eye on your kiddos. Keep an eye on each other. I want to thank everyone for watching, and God bless.